Vlogmas. I totally just threw my hair on the tree. Happy Vlogmas day 14. We're only having one camera clip in this vlog unless something crazy happens, which that will literally be crazy. Like the drones could show up or something. You never know. But I do want to talk about my reading so far today. Let me get my notes where they need to be. I read 124 pages in the Persepolis, and yeah, I'm still absolutely loving this. This has been a great read. I like it. You know, when bad things like war happening, it feels bad to call it great, but it's a very impactful read, I should say. But I got to 78%, so I was just making my, I had a very lazy day. I kind of have a migraine. I think it's on the way out now, but I've had a migraine. I've just been taking it easy today, laying in bed. As I said, I read 124 pages, and then I had Frozen playing in the background, not while I was reading, because I can't take in that much media at once. But I did have Frozen playing because I want to get back to I know Frozen's not really a Christmas movie, but it's a winter movie, and I want to get back to watching my Christmas wintry movies for December, because I didn't when I was on vacation, and then this whole week I haven't watched any Christmassy stuff. I've watched TV shows, but not Christmas. So I want to get back in the Christmas swing of things, because today's the 14th. We are 10 days from Christmas Eve, 11 from Christmas Day, which Christmas Eve's the day that I don't know, I feel like it might be kind of different. Sorry, my router was making noise, but I think it might be a little different this, like last year. I don't know what the plans are going to be or anything like that, but I do want to go through my notes on the Persepolis today, starting with kids having their own rebellions. We have a revolution happening here, and that's the government and politics having their revolution, but you're gonna see underneath the kids are going to be rebelling. We talked about yesterday having like Kim Wilde and Iron Maiden posters on the wall, or wearing jewelry and nail polish and lipstick. That was all forms of rebellion. Even today we see women who are wearing like Western fashion, having their hair and makeup a certain way, wanting to look like American TV shows, because that is their form of rebellion. It might not seem crazy because they're not out there with guns and in the streets demonstrating, but they are having their own form of rebellion against a repressive government. And this is such a story of love and family, and you might just be like, okay, this is a story of revolution and how this person survived the revolution, but no, it's so much more than that. The love that family has and the lengths that it will take you. It took her all the way to Europe because her family wanted her out of the system. They did not think the system in Iran was good for their daughter. It wasn't a proper place for her to grow up, knowing the kind of personality that she had. They thought it would be best if she went to Vienna. And we talked about yesterday of the Iranian government sending legit children off to war. And to add to that, boys were forbidden to leave Iran after the age of 13, because obviously they don't want them fleeing, and that's illegally. They don't want them fleeing from war, because if all the soldiers are gone, the machine stops working and they lose the war. And this quote that one of her family members told her before going to Vienna, and I think is so important: don't forget who you are and where you come from. That was something we talked about earlier, about her uncle who had been imprisoned, exiled, executed, all sorts of stuff had happened to him. At that point he hadn't been executed, obviously, but that you need to know where you come from. It is so important, even if it's hard to understand. It is hard to take in all of that history, but it's so important to know where you came from and what made you as a person. Another thing, people ignore what isn't happening at their front door. We even see it with Marjan when she was a little girl, that with, I said, people being put into prison because they were communist or, you know, something different against the regime that was in power. And she didn't really understand these people being heroes because she did not have one in her own family until she met her uncle after he was released from prison. And then we see people in the West, and I think this is just so prevalent. I think it kind of has changed, but we'll get to that in a moment. But people in the West, in Austria, they didn't really care that she was from Iran. They didn't ask her about the war. They didn't ask about her parents. They didn't really care. And when she would try to talk about what was happening in Iran, everybody was just like, oh, okay, like, you know, look the other way. But as I was saying, now I see houses and businesses with Ukrainian flags, Israeli flags, Palestinian flags. We're not getting into that of which one's right. We're not doing that in these comments, but I'm just saying you will see flags for countries that are in conflict, when back then, which I know I wasn't there during the Islamic Revolution, but later on with the wars in the Middle East, you never saw flags or anything. Of course we knew what was going on, but I think it was to an extent. With social media, everything is completely different. And then another quote, because Marjan, when she goes to Vienna, she's first going to a school that is run by nuns. And this quote, in every religion you find the same extremist. And that is so true. Because I see comparisons to how I grew up and live in the Bible Belt. Now, obviously the extremes can be slightly different than what it would be in an Islamic country, a traditionalist country, but our traditions might be slightly different here in the southern United States, but there are some things that are kind of similar, like dressing modestly, things like that. And yeah, but the story just flows so organically. I am going to say some bits do feel like they drag a little bit, but I do think they are necessary to the story, and it just flows so well. It's not choppy at all, and everything makes sense at the order that it's told in. Something I also noticed, and it might be from growing up in a traditionalist country that Marjan did, is that she has a problem with figures of authority. And so it'd be the people, like the head of the school, the mother, is that what they're called, of the school, and then landlords, landladies, that kind of thing. She just seems to have issues with people in authority and hasn't really addressed that, because there's been some things where I've noticed where might be a bad trait, but then she's like, now I understand. Like the thing with women maybe dressing in a Western way or doing their makeup in a Western way, that was their form of rebellion at the time. Back in 1988, she didn't realize that, but now she does realize that was their own form of rebellion. But with all her ways of, she's taught about these people who were authorities over her, as I said, like teachers, principals, landlords, she hasn't really addressed that. And then, so I got to thinking, maybe she has a problem with figures of authority because in Iran, they were constantly being lied to by the government and by the news and all of that. So maybe that causes some kind of issue with authority. I'm not sure. And my last quote, how much damage a war can do, and not just death and material destruction. I want to actually read y'all some of the stuff of what her father was telling her. So how many did they kill? No one knows exactly. Many thousands, or rather many tens of thousands of people. And the victims of the war, between 500,000 and 1 million. Not counting those disabled by the war, the populations ravaged by chemical weapons, those who lost their minds from the explosions, the orphans, the widows, the refugees, the material destruction. But all that is behind us as we must go forward. Now we must rebuild everything. Despite my father sounding motivated, I didn't feel any real conviction in his voice. He seemed to be as blase as my mother. Let's turn in. Tomorrow I have a long day at work. Do you have any plans? No, not yet. Next to my father's distressing report, my Viennese misadventures seem like little anecdotes of no importance, so I decided that I would never tell them anything about my Austrian life. They had suffered enough as it was. But all of that war doesn't just do destruction by death and material destruction, like missiles and bombs destroying cities. It really destroys a country, a nation, whatever. And you never really think of it like that. You really just think of the numbers and the stats that come with it. But then when you really think about the people involved, it's crazy. Again, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I am even thinking this should be required reading in high schools for like juniors and seniors in high school, because this is so much more modern in a way, because with The Book Thief, that is in Nazi Germany, and I do think it is important to realize not everybody in Germany was a Nazi. But that seems so foreign because now the Germans are allies and they are essentially, you know, white people, and European people is more of what I should have said. We don't really see that. When with Iran is still an adversary to the United States. The people there look different than people in the United States. I know not everybody, because you're gonna have every race everywhere you go, but it's just a different religion than in the United States, because, you know, Germany is mainly Christians and America is mainly Christians, when this is an Islamic country. This would just be so eye-opening to a lot of people and so impactful that I do think this needs to be required reading in schools. And I had never had any required reading that was graphic, that was a comic, and I think that would be really cool for students to get to experience that. I did a lot of different formats in school. That was something great about one of my English classes, is that we got to do ebooks and audiobooks, and then we did have physical, you know, like physical books with words as well. And I think that was really awesome to show kids that reading isn't just physical format. There's so many different ways you can take in media, and that is awesome. And I'm glad that that teacher did that, because everything I just said. But that's where I'm going to end the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this one was kind of boring. It was just a lazy weekend day, a lazy Saturday. But as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. And if you made it through this whole video, leave a Christmas emoji in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!